Most people thought things with Amber Heard and Johnny Depp were already out of control. Well, wait till they hear about her dragging his kids into the trial. As it is now, it seems Amber Heard has decided to tell her story from a different angle, only that this time it involves Johnny Depp's kids, and it's not looking pretty. What did Heard say about his kids? Did Johnny's kids have anything to do with the assault? While the case originally started as just Johnny Depp versus his Amber Heard, now it seems so many other people have been dragged into this messy lawsuit, and now it's Depp's kids that are being brought into it. However, even though everyone seems to be attacking Heard for involving his kids, it wasn't particularly her fault. The subject of Depp's kids came up after complications in the case led to the movie star getting accused of passing out in front of his kids on the beach in an incident from 2013. To confirm the level of truth to the story, the court called on Tara Roberts, who has managed Depp's Bahamas property for the past 15 years, earning an astounding $10,000 US a month, to the stand to testify about the embarrassing ordeal. Under cross-examination by Amber Heard's lawyer, Elaine Bredehoft, Roberts gave a detailed account of the incident that allegedly took place in the summer of 2013, when Depp took his family on a final trip on his yacht before it was sold to Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling. According to reports from the New York Post, Heard's lawyer went on to question Roberts during cross-examination about it. Bredehoft asked Roberts if she remembered when Depp's children Lily Rose and his son Jack, who he shares with his ex-girlfriend Vanessa Paradis, were upset on the yacht and wanting to leave it immediately, so she arranged for a helicopter to take them away with Heard, to which Roberts said she did recall this happening. She was then asked, "Do you recall Mr. Depp passing out in the sand first?" The property manager answered, saying, "I recall he was passed out on the beach." Bredehoft then asked, "Do you have a recollection of Jack being present when Mr. Depp was passed out face first in the sand?" Roberts responded that the star's son was indeed present. Later, she was asked to elaborate on the incident when Depp was passed out on the beach. Roberts explained, "He was passed out. I picked him up, brushed him off. He was in a hammock. I believe he'd fallen asleep and the hammock overturned. I picked him up and left him underneath with Jack." Heard's lawyer was referring to Jack Depp, the star's son, who was 11 at the time. Bredehoft also referenced the star's oldest child, Lily Rose Depp, and Heard being present at the incident. The lawyer moved on to ask if Depp's estate manager remembered the actor's daughter being upset because her father was drinking and he was trying to hide it from her. At that instant, Depp's lawyers objected to the question, preventing Roberts from answering. Immediately after, Bredehoft mentioned that the estate manager had become quite wealthy from her yearly six-figure salary. While this might seem random, it isn't the first time Heard's lawyers would be hinting at Depp's employees being rich. In fact, Heard's team of lawyers have tried to discredit Depp's witnesses many times throughout the trial on the basis that they are financial beneficiaries of the actor and therefore have a stake in his success, and repeatedly raised the issue of the actor's drug and alcohol abuse. Of course, just like all the other parts of this case, several fans got involved to share their opinion, and even though it wasn't exactly Heard herself that involved Depp's kids, that did not stop fans from coming after her. A user on Twitter wrote, "Lily Rose started to get panicky and started to ask me questions about the drinking. Amber Heard is now bringing Johnny Depp's kids into this. She's on record calling him a deadbeat dad. So hey, weaponized kids." One other user wrote that Heard might have crossed the line this time by involving Depp's kids, and they could be right. "I find it offensive that she brings his kids into it. To me, that alone makes her guilty of the more grievous abuse, even if I did believe her tales, which I don't." Someone else replied saying, "She did it on purpose because she wants to get a reaction from him, and she knows bringing his kids into it will make him feel something. I feel disgusted watching her testimony. She kept glancing at him. He couldn't look at her, and I noticed his hands were shaking a bit. Poor JD." Another user likened what Heard was doing to something they experienced growing up. They wrote, "That's just beyond low. My mother used to do the same to me when I was a kid, fill me up with some lies to use against my dad. Kids should never be dragged into the adults' dispute. It can ruin their mental health and cause depression." However, outside all of that, the questioning session went on to the main subjects of the suit, which is the alleged domestic abuse. Bredehoft carried on with the cross-examination and asked, "Do you have any understanding whether she tried to cover up bruises or cuts to keep them from the kids?" After another objection from Depp's team, Roberts did not answer. She then described a visit by Depp and Heard to the island in December 2015, which is based on a previous testimony Depp had made against Heard, stating that she threw a can can of mineral spirits at him on the trip. Roberts described a time on the trip when she and another island employee named CJ were in the office of the island and witnessed Depp in an agitated state walking back and forth. She stated that they talked for a few minutes and then Heard came in telling Depp, "Please come back, I'm sorry, come back." Roberts went on. He stood there reluctant to go, didn't want to go. There was a little exchange back and forth. He left the office and got into his vehicle and started it up, and Amber went outside and stood in front of the vehicle. He didn't drive away. She added she was asking him, "Don't leave, I'm sorry, come back to the house." After a couple of minutes, she got in the vehicle and they left to go back to the house. Roberts then mentioned that she and CJ decided to follow them to the house in a golf cart to make sure they were okay. According to her, when they arrived, they could clearly hear them inside the house yelling. She went on saying, "Amber was yelling and Johnny answered back. You could hear exactly what was being said. We stood there for a couple of minutes. Then we started to hear Amber telling him he was a washed-up actor. He was going to die, a fat, lonely old man. Johnny then said, 'You hit me with a can of mineral spirits.' Johnny came down the steps. Amber was behind him. She had a bottle in her hand. According to her description, Depp and Heard weren't aware that they followed them and were shocked to see them at the entrance. There was a pause of initial shock. Neither Johnny nor Amber knew we were there." She went on with the description saying, "He proceeded to walk back to the John Deere 4x4 vehicle. Amber came up to him saying she was sorry. 'Please come back in the house.' She was hugging and kissing him, telling him 'I love you.' Johnny didn't react, eventually got out of the John Deere and walked away." Roberts explains that this was when things took an abrupt turn for the unexpected. She said Amber started to grab at him, trying to pull him back to the house and yelling at him. The manager added that at that point, she was between Depp and Heard and was worried what was going to happen. So she took Depp away to another building where he passed out and fell asleep on the sofa. As to describe how Heard was trying to pull Depp back, Roberts said it was clawing, grabbing his clothes, grabbing his hair like an angry. He was leaving. He couldn't leave in the vehicle because the keys had been taken out. The only way to leave was for him to walk away. It wasn't a pleasant situation. Later, she was questioned on how Depp reacted. Roberts said he didn't. He stood there with his arms by his side. He didn't do anything. While in the other building, she said she noticed that Depp had a mark across the bridge of his nose. She got a bag of ice and put it over the mark and checked it wasn't bleeding. Seeing Heard the next morning, the manager told the court that she did not notice any injuries on her. And once again, another witness seems to have confirmed that Amber Heard just might be nothing but a liar. But as mentioned earlier, that's just what it seems like. We won't truly know until the jury decides. Till then, tell us what it seems like to you. With that, we'll call it a day. See you on the next one.